Hello there, beautiful people. My name is Charisma, and welcome to One Day at a Time with Charisma. I just wanted to update you all with where I've been. If you've been wondering, or you're just joining my channel, that's alright. I've actually been diagnosed with endometriosis, and this is something I'm going to be talking about throughout this video, and what I've been experiencing, symptoms, what I had to go through with my medical procedure and the surgery, removal, and of course the recovery, which I am now finished on. Today is 6 weeks since my surgery, since my laparoscopy, and so I'll be sharing with you guys what I've been experiencing and a little bit of why I've been missing in action, that's for sure. Alright, so buckle up your seatbelt. If you're grossed out by things, there will be some graphic images throughout this video, as well as me sharing my stories and what I've been dealing with and the challenges that have been thrown my way. So if you aren't ready for that, or you got a light stomach or whatever, just like be ready. Or if you've also been experiencing symptoms that I'll be sharing in this video, or you know somebody that has, this is something that you might want to learn more about, because this is a disorder that is still not talked about much. Not many people know about it. Doctors are still working on it. There's not as many specialists as there should be, and it's kind of just pushed to the side and ignored. And that's why I want to come out and just be open, honest, and as authentic and vulnerable as possible when it comes to what I've been dealing with. And so endometriosis, for those of you that don't know, it is a tissue that grows outside of your uterus. So it's supposed to grow inside of the uterus lining, but the lining actually begins to grow outside, and when that happens, it creates this very painful feeling, including cramps from like upper here all the way down lower, and it creates migraines, it creates back pain, lots of not fun feelings when it comes to going to the gynecologist or doing anything sexual. It becomes painful, and actually it does actually begin to get worse over time. So this is a disorder, disease, a chronic illness that I've had my entire life, and I've kind of known over the years about it and like considered that I might have this, but I never knew for sure because I wasn't diagnosed, and I wasn't sure if I had everything. I didn't want to like over-diagnose myself, and just because I read things on the internet or heard different stories, it's like maybe I have this, but I wasn't sure. But it all started, sorry boys and welcome girls, it all started back in the day when I started my period. My period was never normal. It was very irregular, and I recall days where I couldn't even do certain movements that I'd normally be able to do. I'm like, not today, that is not happening. And so I just wasn't myself those days, and those days turned into weeks, which turned into months, and my period lasted forever. Isn't that crazy? I know. Who would have thought? Like, people would be like, oh, just 3, 5, 7, maybe 10. No, my period, when I went to the doctor, when was your last period? Today, right now, always. It doesn't stop. So my period was very irregular. It would happen all the time. It was super heavy, and so I couldn't make it through class without having to change my pants, or whatever else I was using for that day. And it was just not normal. I was confused, and people around me were like, do you not know how to use a tampon? Like, cover yourself, be prepared. I'm like, alright, like, and if I were to complain, if I ever wanted to even share what I was feeling, it was like, dude, I know what you're talking about, like, I also have a period. It's like, oh, but is yours, like, literally debilitating, where it feels like somebody is, like, you know, like, is that normal? And so, I got put on birth control at 13 years old, obviously not for birth control reasons, but for my period, because it was so heavy, because it was so irregular, because it wasn't something that was anywhere near fun. So, if I didn't take my birth control, I noticed I would be even dying more. Like, my body got reliant on it to the point where it's like a band-aid, basically, and my doctor, gynecologist specialist, told me my birth control is my band-aid, and I'll get into that later. But, basically, I realized I had to be on birth control, because if not, it would have been even worse. So the birth control did help, but over the course of time, the symptoms outside of just the heavy bleeding and the uncomfortable cramps got worse, and I began to get sick, extremely sick, where I had to stop what I was doing just all of a sudden, like boom, bam, bam. I was fine, like I was just up, like partying, doing my thing, and then I'm like, oh, I gotta sit down. I don't feel too good. And people are like, girl, you were just fine. You were just on the bike. We were just on the roller coaster. And nope, I'm ripping off my jacket. I had to like throw up in a denim jacket at Busch Gardens. I was in the Canada airport, just in flying home from Canada, and all of a sudden I'm in security, having to run to the bathroom. There was just random times that I would get so sick for no apparent reason. And at first I would be like, is this food poisoning? Is something wrong? What is the actual cause of me just literally cramping over and dying in pain? And so I knew it was something with my stomach. I've done different tests with my blood, with what's going in. I've done allergy food tests. I've done all of that, and nothing was really giving me the answer. I even went to get a colonoscopy. Yep, I said it, open and honest. It wasn't fun. 24 years old, getting a colonoscopy. People were like, what? I haven't even got one of those. It happened. It happened, and maybe I got a little bit of IBS, but it's nothing insane to the point that would cause these feelings. So when I would go to the gynecologist and they would ask for my periods, I would kind of be like whisked over. Like when I would mention my periods, doctors would be like, I don't know, like you'll be fine, try this. So many different options to try, but nothing was really helping me. And so at one point I saw a different gynecologist, which I went through so many, tons and tons of gynecologists. I would look up different ones to help me with what I was dealing with, and different doctors. And at one point, this gynecologist said I needed to go to pelvic floor therapy. So back 2 years ago, I actually did over a year of pelvic floor therapy. This was actually with a doctor, one-on-one. I did weekly and even twice a week at some point, where I was working on my pelvic floor and physical therapy using a dilator. And I know these are all open, honest things, but just trying to help my pelvic floor relax and live its best life. But it just, little things like that weren't helping to the point where I was feeling better. Yes, certain activities and exercises and little health tips here and there with food might help, but nothing was healing me where I felt like I could live my normal self again. And so more and more doctors I went through, more and more tests, I finally began to search endometriosis specialist. And it was one day that a beautiful doctor, specialist, gynecologist, came into my life and saved it. No, I for real told her that. I am so beyond blessed I found this specialist, Dr. Jane, in St. Petersburg, Florida. Drove a little bit out of my way, but it was so worth it because she knew what was up. She immediately knew and could list all my symptoms. She knew what was causing me pain. She asked certain questions that I had a yes answer to, like, how did you know? She could read my mind. She could feel my feelings. And she was just right there telling me if I was ready to do this, to take on what needs to be taken on with this illness, with this disorder, with this disease, then she was ready to help me. And I knew it was the time. Before, I've tried so many different things, and nothing worked the way I wanted it to, where I felt like I could live a normal life and not be somewhere and all of a sudden feel sick to my stomach, and like I have to just not be myself because I can't physically be me, and like mentally it just was draining. And so I was ready. I said yes. I asked her what it was going to take, and she described, which I kind of already knew, that endometriosis had to be officially diagnosed with a laparoscopy, because you can't see endometriosis outside. It's inside of the uterus and outside of the uterus lining. So you have to go physically inside your stomach to see it. She was solid, confident, 100% I had it, and I knew I had it as well. All the symptoms were accurate. Everything was like getting worse, pain in all areas, all different things. It was just like not myself. And I knew it was time I had to take this step. And so you might be asking, what's that step? A laparoscopy. And a laparoscopy. She had to insert a scope into my stomach, and with her robotic hands, she looked all around for the endometriosis, for the scar tissue, for the different adhesions, and she removed them completely. So, you have endo, or you know anyone that does. When you see a specialist, because I truly recommend that, doctors can't always do what the specialists can, there's some questions that you're going to want to ask them. You're going to want to ask what kind of method they're going to be using to remove the endometriosis. There's an excision method as well as an ablation, and I did the excision method because I personally feel it's best to get the complete endometriosis out rather than just the top of it. The ablation is where you just burn off the top, and the excision is where you go underneath the root of it. Like if it was a flower, for example, you get the entire root, take it out so it can't grow back. When the doctor goes inside and removes the endometriosis, what was beautiful about my aspect was that my doctor actually went inside and she used an adhesion barrier. So anything that she ended up burning, she used a gel on top of it so it wouldn't create as much scar tissue, which would later on begin to create more pain. So everything she did was very precise and accurate, knowing what I've been experiencing and what she doesn't want me to experience any longer. That's why I think it's so important to see a specialist, because there's only 100 specialists in the US, less than 200 in the entire world when it comes to endometriosis. And you don't just want to see a doctor that's not going to know everything about it. When it comes to going in and doing the laparoscopy, no one knows where they're going to find the endo, and it can actually be found on different nerves and the diaphragm, your bowels, and a lot of doctors don't know how to get this removed. They don't know how to properly remove that lining from those organs, and so they'll just sew you back up and tell you where they found it, get what they can, and leave the rest for some other doctor to do. And that's not something you're going to want to do, and that's why it's so beneficial and essential for you to go to a specialist and just get it completely removed rather than just doing what you can in that moment. That's why you got to invest and drive the extra mile for those people that know what they're doing and they study those specific things. My doctor specifically teaches other surgeons how to do robotic surgeries, so with her robotic hands, she was able to be more precise and accurate and make the scars and holes a little smaller. That was one thing I was a little nervous about, and back in the day I was like, oh, I don't know if I'd ever do that, but once it kept getting worse and worse, I was like, I've got to just go in and do it and go with someone that knows what they're doing and will do the best that they can. And she was just so confident on her remission rate of not having anyone come back and having to get something refixed, and I was like, if she feels that confident that it's one and done, I'm going with her. And you got to do what you got to do, even if it means taking off a few weeks. That's something that really affected me. Was I was told I was going to have to take 6 weeks off. So once she went in, she was going to create 4 different holes, 2 in the lower, 1 in each side, 1 in the belly button, and 1 a little upper, to be able to see the different areas with the scope, with the robotic arms. And she said I was going to have to take 6 weeks off. Even if I didn't see or even like feel like it was that terrible throughout a few weeks, it was still things going on inside that she had to physically work with and fix. And that's something else that I noticed and that she explained to me that she was going to need to do was when I would go and get a pelvic floor exam or go to a gynecologist, it was very painful. And with my uterus, it was actually tilted back, and so she had to do a uterus suspension. Sounds crazy, I didn't even know this was possible. She explained to me that she was able to actually physically go in and help tilt my uterus back in the correct position so I wouldn't feel that pain. My uterus was actually tilted in my back, so it was creating a bunch of lower back pain, and it was very uncomfortable for anything. And so she was able to put that in the right positioning, and I will include some photos of that as well. When it comes to the surgery, I had to do a few pre-op appointments, setups. I even had to do a bowel prep again, the worst thing ever. I know that's like one of the worst parts about the surgery, because who doesn't want to eat food for like a day. Like that's one of the hardest things. So bowel prep wasn't fun, but I went in the surgery knowing I was going to come out in a process of healing and I was going to have answers, and I knew my doctor was so confident I had no reason to be afraid. But there are some ways that you can prepare if you are going into surgery, and some ways that I learned I could have prepared better or that worked for me. And so first I would suggest obviously not wearing any makeup, going as natural, as clean, sanitized as possible. They have you wash with bacteria wash that will help remove any bacteria and kill it all. I know. And I would suggest actually like braiding your hair. So I'm going to keep it out of your face, keep it out of your way, because you're not going to be able to like, unfortunately, make yourself all stylish all the time. So do your hair, make it feel comfy, make yourself feel good, and be prepared for your way home. I had a little pillow to put between myself and the seatbelt to protect my stomach because there were multiple incisions, and I got myself some Smooth Move tea to help get the bowels back and flowing. They want to make sure you can go to the bathroom before you leave the hospital. You're going to want to make sure you have ice packs and a heating pad. Of course, some for your stomach. You might want to even put some on your back. Kind of rotate them on and off according to how you feel. I also recommend getting yourself some gaslight. I know it's crazy, but they fill your stomach up with a bunch of gas. It's literally like they blow up a balloon so they can see inside it with the light that they shine inside, so they can see all of your beautiful insides. And so taking that gaslight will help dissipate all that gas, and the more you walk around after your surgery and procedure, the more you can get that gas moving and flowing out of you, because it's not comfortable, and it's actually a little uncomfortable. It can even create some shoulder pain because of the pressure, and it might even make you feel like really bloated, or just like you need to like get something out. I know for me, I had to like curl up in a ball a little bit as my gas was like removing itself, but I had to remind myself, hey, you gotta walk around a bit. So allow yourself and push yourself a bit, but not too much, just to get that gas flowing. And it's encouraged to walk. It's not fun at first. It takes time. If your friend's walking 10 times faster than you, that's okay. You can tell them to slow down, or you can take your own walk, but realize you gotta keep your body moving, you gotta get it going, your blood flowing, keep yourself human. You might be in pain while you're recovering, but it's never gonna be in as much pain as you once were when you were suffering. This is a condition that people can't always see. A lot of the feelings are inside, and people push them to the side or ignore them, or just kind of say you're being dramatic, but I understand. I'm here for you. Be understanding of your friends that are going through the same thing. If they are, if it's not you and it's someone you know, don't take it lightly. It's a serious, very serious condition. It's actually in the top 20 most painful in the world. I was told I needed 6 weeks to recover for the procedures that I had done, and it wasn't always easy to take those 6 weeks off. It was some days I wanted, and I felt like I needed to do certain things that needed to get done, but I sat back and remembered I had to take it easy, I had to take it slow, I had to allow myself to heal, to recover. If I wanted to move bags and boxes and suitcases and get things done around the house, that wasn't the time. These are things you need to do ahead of time, or plan 6 weeks out for, because you need to allow your body to heal. It's a vessel. It's what keeps you going. So recover, rest, take it easy, and wear baggy clothing. Listen to your favorite music, read your favorite book, talk to your best friend, connect with someone you haven't in a while, go back on your live stream, make a fun video, try out some painting, some new makeup, watch some movies, do your thing, but you don't have to rush. This is where you literally take it one day at a time. This was so difficult for me. So difficult. And I just want to be open and vulnerable and honest, because I knew I needed time off and my body needed it, and I had to get my mind on that same page. It was actually a journey for me. Healing is a journey, and it allows you to take things slow, to recognize each moment, to be mindful of what you're feeling, to be still, and to practice the art of stillness. and it's not always easy. I know for me, I've struggled when it comes to having to relax. I feel like I always have something to do. It's just important to remind yourself, take things one day at a time. This is your healing journey. This is you recovering. This is you feeling better, and it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. But on to the great news. I feel so much better. 6 weeks in, and I'm a whole new person. I don't experience the pain I've once felt. Although this is a chronic condition and it is with me for life, what I had was once removed, and I'm going to continue my birth control so that it has less likely of a chance to grow back and to come back, and for that blood to create that lining outside of my uterus. And this birth control is going to be somewhat like a band-aid. It's not always exciting to say that I have to rely on something, but it is helping with the pain. It's not creating any of that lining to come back, and as of now, we are feeling one hundo. You're back at it. I'm going to be able to exercise again. I hopefully won't have any extra pain randomly, or even like inside, any crazy experiences all of a sudden having to cancel or just not feeling like myself. And I'm just so glad to be back mentally, physically, and here on YouTube. I aspire to make more videos this year. It's not always the easiest within other businesses and brands I'm working with, but I do want to show up. I want to share with you guys what I've been experiencing, the challenges I've learned from, and of course, just make more content that you guys want to see. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks for being here for me. Thanks for understanding. It's not always a fun, exciting story to share when it comes to endometriosis, but it really is true at heart, something I dealt with, and I felt like I couldn't always share about because it isn't always delicious to talk about. Honestly, somewhat disgusting to some people, and although it is a natural human thing that 1 out of 10 women experience, the stages aren't easy. It can get worse, and if you experience it yourself, I encourage you to get help. See a specialist. I'm here for you. If you have any questions, please drop them below. I would love for you to subscribe, share with me if you've experienced anything, or you know anyone like this that has experienced something like endometriosis or has endometriosis. It is a very common thing that runs in the family, so if this is something your sister, or your mom, or your aunt might have, you may have it as well. But I'm here for you. I love you. There are answers. There are ways of getting better, and I'm here to help, answer any way I can, be here, and pray for you all. I love you guys so much. Thanks for listening. Thank you for understanding where I've been missing in action, and I will be back bigger and better in 2023. Love you guys. Talk to you later.